本日はおいさ
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking a time and joining with us. Here, now we begin the 6th International Forum for Sustainable Asia and Pacific 2014. Let me introduce myself. I serve as the MC for the day. Haruko Kuramasu is my name. I'm from IGES, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. Now, at the outset, on behalf of the organizers, first I'd like to invite the chairman of the board of IGES Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, Professor Hironori Hamanaka. Now, Professor Hamanaka, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself once again. I'm from Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, IGES. I am a chair of the board of IGES. Hamanaka is my name. On behalf of this one of the organizers, IGES, I'd like to say a few words to welcome you. Today we have a great pleasure to welcome all of you from Japan as well as from abroad under the co-sponsorship with the IR3S of United Nations University in starting the 6th ISAP. We have a pleasure and honor of having Vice Minister Soichiro Seki for Global Environment of the Ministry of Environment, Governor Yuji Kuroiwa from Kanagawa Prefecture, and the Dr. Kazuhiko Takeuchi, Senior Vice Rector of United Nations University, the keynote speaker, the Dr. Pachauri, the chair of IPCC, and other speakers and discussants, and to the audience that gathered here today. Also, we have the cooperation extended as the support for organizing this event from UNEP, UN, SCAP, ADB, OECD, as well as National Institute for Environmental Studies. Furthermore, we were supported by Ministry of Environment, Kanagawa Prefecture, Hyogo Prefecture, City of Yokohama, Kawasaki City, Kitakyushu City, JICA, as well as other organizations and agencies. And also, we have their presence in the exhibition regarding state-of-the-art latest development. IGES is designed to achieve sustainable development in Asia-Pacific region and to undertake studies on practical and innovative policies, and based upon the results by offering the effective recommendations, we define our mission to contribute to a policy formation so that we can serve as a change agent to realize transition to sustainable society. And thus we have been focusing on collaboration with a wide variety of stakeholders for transition towards sustainable society. As Asian and Pacific region are faced with a variety of challenges, we at ISAP gather experts from various countries, agencies, local governments, industries, among others, and through sharing of information and knowledge, and by promoting collaboration among different entities, the ISAP was formed to create the opportunity for formulating solutions and the keys to answer various challenges. And it was first started in 2009, and this is the 6th in series. This year, the main theme is bringing regional voices to the post-2015 development agenda, solutions for a low-carbon, resilient, and inclusive Asian Pacific. Last week, the final session of the United Nations Working Group on SDG met in New York, and they adopted the report including the draft objectives. This will be presented to UN General Assembly in September, and that toward formation of the agreement in 2015, discussion will take place at the United Nations. It is essential that we have come to the agreement on SDGs in order to realize transition to global-scale sustainable society. But of course, there have to be means of implementation. Otherwise, the goal just ends up with goals that are not implemented. We believe the good governance is indispensable for the realization of SDGs, and therefore we focus on various measures for implementation, and thus we want to come up with the concrete proposals. Also, in transition to a low-carbon society to stand against climate change, toward the creation of the global framework for climate change in 2020 and onward, we expect acceleration of the negotiation toward the formation of the agreement at COP21. And in fact, for climate changes, we expect that increasingly important roles are to be performed not only by the central government, but also local communities, local governments, and industries. And thus, we are trying to make sure that each entity and stakeholder can play its role toward transition to low-carbon society through provision of information and offering the tools to support decision-making, and through working on the capacity development, we hope to facilitate the realizing solution to transition to low-carbon society. This afternoon, we have a parallel session, which is entitled Launch of the Japan 2050 Low-Carbon Navigation. And there we intend to offer some case studies that we are currently working on as a part of the development efforts. This is going to be a 2-day conference. The time is limited, but hope that you would actively participate in discussion towards solutions so that we can come up with the solutions and wisdom to listen to voices of Asia to create resilient and inclusive solutions, and hope that you would also undertake creation of the network with those that are participating this occasion. I'd like to once again thank all of you for your participation, and this concludes my opening remarks. Thank you.
Hamanaka 理事長、ありがとう。
Professor Hamanaka, thank you very much. Next, we'd like to call upon the Senior Vice Rector of the United Nations University, Professor Takeuchi, for his opening remark. Senior Vice Rector Takeuchi, please.
Professor Hamanaka, Mr. Seki, Mr. Kuroiwa, Dr. Pachori, Mr. Tamaki, Professor Sarim, and Professor Zakri, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the United Nations University, I am pleased to welcome you all to ISAP 2014. ISAP is an extremely important forum for discussion of pressing issues related to sustainable development. Of particular value is its emphasis on activity engaging participants from a broad range of fields, organizations, and background, reflecting the complex and interrelated nature of sustainability challenges. The United Nations University, or UNU, has been actively supporting ISAP since the first forum held in 2009, and co-organizing it with IGIS since the third forum in 2011. I would like to express my sincere thanks to IGIS for this very successful collaboration, which I hope will continue for many years to come. The overall theme of ISAP this year is bringing regional voices to the post-2015 development agenda, solutions for low-carbon, resilient, and inclusive Asia and the Pacific. With the intergovernmental negotiations on the post-2015 agenda due to begin at the UN General Assembly in September, this is a very timely occasion for us to gather here for discussion on this important topic. UNU is fully committed to this topic through a range of research and policy development activities. In January, we established a new institute in Tokyo, the UNU Institute for the Advanced Study of Sustainability, or UNU-IAS, by merging two previous institutes to bring renewed focus to our work on sustainability issues. Through this new institute, UNU is deeply engaged in advancing efforts towards a more sustainable future, contributing to policy making and debates within the UN system. Our research focuses on the process to establish the post-2015 development agenda is a prime example of this rule. The UNU-IS project, Governance for Sustainable Development, is focused on this process, considering institutional arrangement, target, and indicators, as well as implementation issues. This project recently launched a series of policy briefs at UNU headquarters in New York, providing recommendations on issues of governance, education, and the architecture of the Sustainable Development Goals. Another example is the Fukushima Global Communication Program, or FGC, which UNU launched here at ISAP last year. This initiative focuses on the nuclear accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, analyzing its human consequences and the societal impacts, communicating its lessons, and bringing international expertise to the recovery process. Since its launch, the project has progressed well, with a number of international events and expert workshops held in Tokyo and in Fukushima. UNU-IS also hosts the International Partnership for the Satoyama Initiative, or IPSI, a global effort to promote sustainable landscape models through which societies can exist in harmony with nature. This initiative builds networks, implements capacity building at the regional and sub-regional levels, and conducts research on socio-ecological production landscapes. It is now actively contributing to preparations for COP12 of the Convention on Biological Diversity to be held in Pyeongchang in the Republic of Korea this October. We are also working on Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD, in a very important year for the topic as we reach the end of the UN decade of ESD. UNU-IS has been collaborating closely with UNESCO and the government of Japan in this area, and building capacities for ESD through multi-stakeholder learning networks and regional initiatives in Asia and Africa. We are now developing our activity to contribute to the further implementation of the Global Action Program, or GAP, on ESD, which is to be the follow-up framework of DESD. These are but a few examples of UNU's research, policy development, and capacity building activities focused on sustainable development. In all of our work, we prioritize collaboration and network building, drawing on UNU's unique position as an academic organization within the framework of the United Nations. I think ISAP is a perfect example of this approach in action, particularly in its emphasis on bringing together a diverse range of stakeholders for constructive and interactive high-level dialogue. Finally, I would like to express our thanks to the collaborating organizations for their generous and professional support, which plays a vital role in realizing ISAP 2014 in a successful manner. I'm very much looking forward to active discussions throughout the various sessions during these 2 days. Thank you very much.
竹内上級副学長
Senior Vice Rector, Dr. Takeuchi, thank you very much. Now we'd like to call upon the Vice Minister for Global Environment, the Ministry of the Environment, Mr. Soichiro Seki, to give us an opening greeting as well. Thank you for the introduction. I am Soichiro Seki, Vice Minister of the Ministry of the Environment of Japan. On this occasion of starting the 6th International Forum for Sustainable Asia and the Pacific, I'd like to say a few words of greeting representing the Ministry of the Environment. First, I'd like to express my respect and gratitude for the organizers of the forum, IJUS and UNUIAS. For this forum has been expanded in scale year on year, and for the forum is designed to achieve sustainable development in the Asia-Pacific region. Since last year up to this year, the 5th assessment reports of IPCC were published. Here in Yokohama, in March this year, for the very first time in Japan, IPCC plenary session was held. There, the report of the Working Group 2 on Impact, Adaptation, and Vulnerability was approved. This report shows for the past few decades, on all continents and across the oceans, climate change has caused impact on nature and human systems. Other 2 reports of working groups also agreed that with simple continuation of conventional policies, there is a limit to what we can do to fight against climate change. I understand it shows a clear need to innovate our policies. The themes of this year's ISAP is bringing regional voices to the post-2015 solutions for low-carbon, resilient, and inclusive Asia-Pacific. Now, this 2015 is a key year that internationally critical decisions are going to be made, such as post-2020 framework to fight global warming and sustainable development goals, SDGs. To be better prepared for these milestones, critically important to the world and to the Asia-Pacific, we must deepen the international discussion to realize low-carbon resilient society. Currently, under UNFCCC, negotiations are undertaken to come to an agreement in next year's COP21 on post-2020 new legal framework. Japan is more than willing to contribute to the negotiation process to build an equal and effective framework that all nations can take part in. Within Japan, we are fully dedicated not only to save substantial energy on the demand side, but to introduce renewable energy to a large extent. The Ministry of the Environment of Japanese government began a campaign named Fun to Share this March for rich and low-carbon society. The aim of this campaign is for citizens to generate ideas and techniques that can be widely shared to start a positive chain reaction for lifestyle innovation. With regard to international contribution, Japan is willing to lead the whole world. Asia-Pacific region is the growth center of the world. For many quickly developing countries to leapfrog the conventional economy-oriented development over to the development of low-carbon society, Japan is really ready to actively assist developing countries. Specifically, bilateral joint credit mechanism will help disseminate excellent low-carbon technologies, thus will help reduce global emissions. Japan signed already bilateral agreements on JCM with 11 countries.
Using this system the best we can, we will fully back up the developing countries to counter global warming. The Ministry of the Environment also places much weight on adaptation to climate change. Japan's national adaptation plan will be formulated by next summer. Next year, building on this experience, we will support the Asia-Pacific Network to complete UNEP proposed Global Adaptation Network. For us to evolve sustainable development, the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity is an essential issue. This October, Convention of Biodiversity COP12 will be held in Korea to discuss this matter. The Ministry of the Environment of Japan is assisting developing countries to achieve Aichi targets. To build capacity, or through Satoyama Initiative, we are helping developing countries to retain resilience. As part of better adapting to climate change, we plan next fiscal year to promote international collaborative partnership in Asia-Pacific region for ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction. Lastly, I express my sincere hope that in this ISAP forum, latest scientific findings, knowledge, policies, and experiences of different countries will be shared, so the Asia-Pacific can make a progress in developing low-carbon, resilient society in this region. Mr. Seki, thank you very much.
Last but not least, we'd like to invite Governor of Kanagawa Prefecture, Mr. Yushi Kuroiwa, to give us opening remarks. Welcome to Yokohama and Kanagawa Prefecture. I am Yushi Kuroiwa, the Governor of Kanagawa Prefectural Government. I'd like to congratulate on ISAP 2014 being held with participation by many experts. On behalf of 9 million Kanagawa population, I'd like to thank you for your participation. And in 1992, Kanagawa Prefecture participated in UN Conference on Environment and Development or Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro as a local government. And based on the results, in Kanagawa, Conference for the Promotion of Global Environmental Protection was launched, consisting of prefectural citizens, corporations, NPOs, and the government officials. And Japan's first local agenda, Agenda 21 Kanagawa, was adopted. And chairman of this conference has been assumed by Mr. Hamanaka, chair of the board of directors of IGES, the organizer of this forum. And Mr. Hamanaka has been quite instrumental in helping Kanagawa promote initiatives for environmental protection. And when I became the governor of the prefecture, it was 3 years and 3 months ago. It was right after Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station accident. And if the energy system, which was dependent on nuclear power, continues, then we would not be sustainable. We would have to establish a new energy system. That's what I thought, and I appealed to the public, starting the energy revolution from Kanagawa Prefecture. And this shift from centralized power generation to distributed power generation was the agenda that we set for ourselves. The nuclear power stations and fossil power stations, in a large scale, you generate power and then use a long power line to distribute power. That was what it used to be, but we're looking at distributed power generation, where the power is generated right in the immediate neighborhood. In other words, local generation, local consumption. And we have been focusing on solar power generation first and foremost. And by 2030, we're hoping in Kanagawa Prefecture that distributed power generation will represent 45% of the total power consumed. And new technological advance has been made since then, and what we are now paying particular attention to is thin film solar cells. It is an era of films. It used to use the heavy glass devices, but now we are in the era of films. And once we are in the era of films, you can use solar panels everywhere, anywhere. It used to be that we were only able to install solar panels on the roof, but in the era of films, you can have all this packaged, and what's exposed outdoors would be all become solar panels. So if that materializes, then we can accelerate the process of spread of photovoltaic power generation. We are concentrating our investments in this regard. And as Kanagawa Prefecture, we are making our all-out efforts, and I hope this forum will be a great success. Thank you for your attention.
黒岩様、どうもありがとうございました。
Mr. Kuroiwa, thank you very much. That concludes the opening session